Looking for a new premium gaming monitor. Like going to your favorite fast food joint, sometimes you just want something with great value. Hey, I'm Nicholas from Ratings.com. Today we're reviewing the MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED. Like many monitors that have come out in 2024 and that we've already talked about, this one has a 4K 240Hz QD-OLED panel. There's also a similar model from MSI called the MAG 321UPX, which lacks a few features compared to this MPG 321URX model. It competes against monitors that also have a QD-OLED panel, like the Dell AW3225QF and the Samsung OLED G8. So does it do anything different against the competition, and is it worth buying? First, let's look at the design. It's pretty simple with a plastic body that's well made. The panel itself is thin, and the housing for the inputs on the back has some branding and RGB lighting. The stand holds the screen well and offers most ergonomic adjustments. You can't place it in portrait mode, but other than that, it's easy to adjust. There's also a cutout for basic cable management. The inputs can be a bit hard to reach since they're set into the back and face downwards. But luckily, it has a good selection of inputs. There's a DisplayPort 1.4 input and two HDMI ports that each support HDMI 2.1 bandwidth. It even has a USB hub with two USB-A's, but they're limited to USB 2.0 speed. It also has a USB-C port that supports DisplayPort Alt mode with 90 watts of power delivery to charge a laptop. A neat feature of this monitor is the KVM switch. This means you can connect your devices to the USB hub and use them on two sources connected to the monitor, like if you have your laptop and gaming PC connected. The lower end MAG 321UPX model doesn't have this. Okay, let's move on to the picture quality, starting with the brightness. Like most OLEDs, there's nothing that really stands out about its SDR brightness. It's fine if you want to use it in a room with few lights around, but it doesn't get bright enough to fight intense glare. It at least gets brighter in HDR with small highlights, so they really pop against the rest of the image. However, it gets a lot dimmer with larger highlights, and the overall HDR brightness is just okay. Again, this is expected for most OLEDs. On the plus side, it tracks the PQ EOTF curve well, so it displays most content at the target brightness. However, there's a slow roll-off, so it doesn't let highlights get the brightest they could. If you want to use this monitor in a bright room, you'll be happy to know it has fantastic reflection handling. The glossy coating reduces glare well, but it doesn't diffuse a lot of light, so the reflections are mirror-like. One downside of using it in a well-lit room is that blacks look purple when there's ambient light on the screen, which is typical of QD-OLEDs. The best way to avoid this issue is by using it in a dark room, and well, it performs really well there. It displays deep and inky blacks without any blooming around bright highlights. This makes for a great viewing or gaming experience in dark rooms. Another factor that contributes to the incredible picture quality is the wide range of colors it displays in HDR. It has fantastic coverage of both the DCI-P3 and Rec 2020 color spaces. It even has remarkable HDR color volume. It displays both dark and vivid colors without any issues. It also displays accurate colors in SDR before calibration. It has a dedicated sRGB mode that limits most colors to the sRGB color space, but some are oversaturated. Besides that, the white balance is excellent, and Gamut follows the target curve well enough, but most scenes are too dark. Calibrating it fixes any of these minor issues. Okay, we know that colors look excellent, but let's talk about a few more things regarding picture quality with a focus on productivity. The high resolution results in sharp text, especially with Windows ClearType enabled, but there's a catch. Because of its triangular RGB subpixel layout, there's some fringing around letters or even at the top and bottom edges of windows. However, it's hard to notice and some people may not see it at all. Another advantage of this monitor is that it has wide viewing angles, so the image looks the same no matter where you view it from. There is of course the OLED boogeyman to consider, burn-in. Burn-in is mainly a problem if you have static elements on the screen all the time, like a taskbar or desktop icons. Changing up what you do on your monitor reduces the risk of these things burning in. Plus, there are built-in settings to help like pixel shift and pixel refresh, which do make a difference in extending the life of your panel. The pixel refresh pops up to run after every 4 hours of use, which might be a bit inconvenient if you're in the middle of a game. Alright, now we can move on to the really fun stuff, and that's the gaming performance. You could reach the monitor's max 240Hz refresh rate with both HDMI and DisplayPort connections, but your graphics card needs to use DSC to do so. But unlike many monitors, you can also disable DSC on this one, which is useful if you aren't reaching the max refresh rate and you don't want your graphics card to use compression. Besides that, it supports all common VRR formats to reduce screen tearing with any connection type. Moving on, the main advantage of using this for gaming is its near instant response time at any refresh rate. Motion looks incredibly sharp with any game or content. It still has persistence blur at low refresh rates, and sadly, it doesn't have a black frame insertion feature to reduce this. Another thing we need to talk about is VRR flicker. So this is something that pretty much any OLED has when the frame rate changes a lot, and it's mostly distracting in dark scenes. This monitor is no exception, but it's actually not as bad as most OLEDs. The screen flashes at random times, but the flicker isn't as distracting as on competing models. Still, this doesn't happen if your PC can maintain a consistent frame rate anyways. To round out your gaming experience, you need a monitor to have low input lag, and that's the case here. It goes up a bit with 60Hz signals, but it's still good enough for gaming. That said, you need to have the firmware updated to version 0.11 and newer to have the lowest input lag with any signal or settings. With older firmware, the input lag was higher at lower refresh rates depending if DSC or VRR were enabled or not. Lastly, it can take full advantage of both the PS5 and Xbox Series X or S. It supports any signal from them, and there aren't any issues. So with all that said, is it worth buying this monitor compared to other QD-OLEDs available on the market? In short, yes, you should buy it. It has everything you'd want in a premium gaming monitor. The high refresh rate and high resolution make it a fantastic choice for both console and PC gaming. On top of that, motion looks incredibly sharp thanks to the fast response time, and it has remarkable picture quality with deep blacks and vivid colors. Its extra features like the USB-C port and KVM switch are also a nice touch, especially if you want to connect different devices or computers. In terms of performance and price, this one definitely offers the best value out of the QD-OLEDs that have come out in 2024. But there's a catch here. It sometimes goes out of stock and is hard to find, which causes a price jump. That's why it's worth getting when you could find it for less than competing models. If you can't, one of those competing models is the Samsung OLED G8. It's another QD-OLED with the same resolution and refresh rate. It doesn't have a KVM switch or USB-C port like the MSI, but it's still fantastic for gaming. Another difference is that the Samsung has a matte screen coating, which makes it a better choice if you want something for well-lit rooms. But images are less clear than on the glossy coating of the MSI. If you're a dedicated PC gamer and want something with a higher refresh rate, there's also the MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED available. It's considered a lower end model compared to the 321URX, so it costs less and has a lower 1440p resolution. However, it has a higher 360Hz refresh rate and has many of the same features like the KVM switch and HDMI 2.1 bandwidth. So choosing one over the other really comes down to which combination of refresh rate and resolution you want. That's all for the MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED. If you want more details on the monitor, check out our written review. The link is in the description below. Until next time, I'm Nicholas from RTINGS.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs. Ciao. If you're a dedicated PC gaming monitor, PC gamer.
If you're a dedicated PC gaming monitor, please come. We need to review you.
I kept saying that when I was doing the read-through with Abby. If you're a dedicated PC gaming monitor.